We got some breaking news just before you stepped onto set. This coming from Microsoft that basically they're going to cut 9,000 workers in a second wave of major layoffs. It seems like Microsoft is really looking to reduce headcount here. Companies like Microsoft and Google, they have the highest R&D and spend. So a lot of those coders, I think, are going through this restructuring right now in terms of how their jobs are changing. And another stock closing in the red is Microsoft after announcing or word of its plans to lay off more than 9,000 employees came today. This comes after 6,000 people were let go back in May. Largest number of layoffs in technology so far this year. It's tempting to say this is about AI taking jobs. But for Microsoft, I'm not sure that's the case. I do see a movement across tech. We've talked about it here on overtime with Intuit in PR and marketing jobs to replace some of those with AI. But when it comes to coding, there's still demand at the high end for the coders who can use and create AI capability. No, that's absolutely right. These layoffs had nothing to do with AI replacing jobs. Software engineering has long been seen as one of the most promising and stable career paths with high demand, competitive salaries, and global opportunities. It once represented the gold standard of modern professions. Young people around the world dreamed of landing a tech job drawn by stories of six-figure salaries, flexible working conditions, and the prestige of working at companies shaping the future. For decades, the industry was marketed as the perfect blend of creativity, problem-solving, and financial reward. Yet, a growing body of evidence suggests that this dream is becoming increasingly short-lived, especially for developers over the age of 35. What was once seen as a sustainable lifelong career is for many proving to be far more fragile. The numbers paint a troubling picture. Older software developers are vanishing from the field, often forced out not by choice but by a system that prizes youth over experience. According to industry data, 7 out of 10 developers today are under 35 years old. In the United States, the 45 to 54 age group used to represent more than 20% of developers. But that number has steadily declined. Today, developers over 45 account for less than 6% of the workforce. That means in an industry where careers should, in theory, span decades, very few professionals can maintain their roles into middle age. 150,000 tech workers have been laid off in 2022 alone. Amazon today announcing it's going to cut 18,000 workers. We're going to see more. It's going to continue to weave through the public and private market. Is the tech bubble bursting again? The layoffs in big tech, which started in 2022, left many wondering if this is just the tip of the iceberg. The barriers for older professionals are not just theoretical. They're deeply felt in their daily lives. Studies show that tech workers over the age of 45 often face more extended unemployment periods than their younger counterparts. On average, developers over 40 take 3 months longer to find a new job, and more than 40% remain unemployed for over 90 days after leaving a role. These aren't just statistics. They represent real families struggling to pay bills, mortgages, or tuition while navigating a shrinking job market. The financial consequences are devastating. Nearly all older workers who do secure a new role end up earning significantly less. Only 10% manage to match their previous salaries, while the majority earn just half of what they once did. For many, this creates a downward spiral. Reduced income makes it harder to keep up with constant upskilling, which then further limits opportunities. Employers often claim that the issue is not age itself, but rather the high salary expectations of older developers, startups, and tech giants alike argue that younger hires cost less, work longer hours, and adapt more quickly to new technologies. In industries where speed and cost-cutting drive decisions, this reasoning appears logical. But beneath this justification lies an undeniable form of age discrimination. Surveys reveal that 61% of tech professionals over 45 believe their age limits their employability, while 60% of workers aged 45 to 74 report experiencing age-based bias at work. High-profile voices in the industry have even reinforced this stigma. Former Intel CEO Craig Barrett once remarked that an engineer's shelf life lasts only a few years. Mark Zuckerberg famously said, Young people are just smarter. A statement that drew heavy criticism but reflected a mindset deeply rooted in Silicon Valley culture. In practice, youth is associated with speed, creativity, and relentless energy, qualities that many companies prioritize over the wisdom and caution that come with experience. As a result of these biases, older developers face shrinking career paths. Instead of continuing as active programmers, many are nudged into management roles, consulting, or entirely out of the industry. For some, this transition feels natural and even welcome. But for others, those who still enjoy coding and building software, it feels like being pushed aside. The message is clear. Longevity in hands-on software development is becoming harder to sustain. The cultural environment of the tech industry reinforces this bias. Open-plan offices filled with beanbags and gaming consoles. Move fast and break things mantras and products designed for younger audiences create workplaces that subtly and sometimes overtly exclude older workers. In an industry where late-night coding marathons and weekend hackathons are celebrated, developers with families or health concerns can feel left behind. Another major challenge is the relentless pace of technological change. Programming languages, frameworks, and methodologies evolve so quickly that developers who fail to upskill risk being labeled obsolete continuously. For example, a developer who spent decades mastering Java or C++ might suddenly find those skills overshadowed by newer frameworks like Rust, Go, or specialized machine learning tools. Younger professionals fresh out of university or coding boot camps often enter the workforce already fluent in these new technologies. Hiring managers eager to stay on trend view them as better long-term investments. Meanwhile, experienced developers may be unfairly judged as set in their ways even when they're perfectly capable of learning. The economic consequences of this youth-focused hiring strategy are significant. Between 2018 and 2024, job openings for junior developers in the U.S. grew by 18%, while overall developer employment grew by less than 5%. Salaries in the sector rose by just 24% in the same period, suggesting that companies are deliberately containing costs by cycling in younger, lower-paid workers rather than retaining higher-salaried veterans. This approach might boost corporate profit margins, but it undermines the financial stability of older developers. For professionals in their 40s and 50s, losing a job in tech can be catastrophic. Studies show that older workers who re-enter the job market rarely recover their previous earnings, and many are forced to accept lower-level positions or switch careers entirely. Some even abandon the field altogether despite years or decades of experience building critical systems. The central question then becomes, is software development a sustainable lifelong career or merely a young person's game? Evidence increasingly points to the latter. While it's true that the industry itself is relatively young, meaning there are naturally fewer older professionals, structural barriers facing those who age within the sector are impossible to ignore. The irony is that the industry still desperately needs experienced engineers. Complex enterprise systems, financial infrastructures, and national security software often require the kind of expertise that only comes with years of practice. Yet, organizational structures and cultural biases continue to devalue that expertise in favor of cheaper, younger labor. This creates a troubling paradox. On one hand, society encourages young people to pursue tech careers, presenting them as the future of work. On the other hand, those very careers may offer limited long-term sustainability, pushing developers into early exits or career pivots before they even reach retirement age. If the trend continues, millions of professionals will face instability in midlife with fewer opportunities to leverage their skills and declining financial security. The impact extends beyond individuals, affecting families, communities, and the broader economy. When experienced engineers are sidelined, valuable knowledge is lost, innovation suffers, and the dream of tech as a lifelong profession begins to collapse. The silent exit of older software developers is more than just a workforce issue. It's a societal one. Behind every statistic is a story of a professional who contributed to building the digital world, but now struggles to find their place in it. If the tech industry is truly about solving problems and building the future, then it must also confront the issue within its ranks, the erasure of those who once led the way. The future of software engineering may appear to belong to the young. But at what cost?